I want to ask you two questions, just one after the other. The first one relates to the context for the initiation of the peace process and also particularly the development of the framework documents. I maybe ask you to talk about the importance at that stage of the joint UK and Irish membership of the European Union, both in terms of the regular contacts between ministers from both governments, but also the importance of that backdrop to what was being done in relation to particularly Strand 2 and Strand 3.
Do you know that pause? I've got the feeling just to have to say this again, I'm going to get absolutely crucified in the right-wing rags for what I'm about to say, but here goes.
Membership of the European Union was very important for many reasons. The first reason was that they were immensely supportive in cash as well as oratory to the development of what was going on. The second reason is more difficult to express accurately. A great deal of the negotiation went on in private, and every time something was leaked, it aroused fears on one side of the divide or the other. I was able to meet, and so was Paddy Mayhew, with our counterparts in Dublin, privately in the margins of European Union meetings. And a great deal of work and discussion got done there. We weren't sitting down with officials. Well, 9 times out of 10, we weren't sitting down with officials. We were just sitting down with one another as people who wished to see progress. And it smoothed the way for many of the agreements that might not otherwise have been made. So it was a very useful tent in which we could operate discreetly, and we used that tent to the full, right the way through both the Downing Street Declaration and the frameworks agreement. It was very helpful that we were both in the European Union. It was very helpful because we faced a common set of problems. And often in the European Union, we found ourselves working together with the same opinions. The point about Northern Ireland that always struck me is quite simply this. They are our nearest neighbours. Southern Ireland, sure. Ireland. They are our nearest neighbours. It is absurd that we had no regular meetings with them. Absurd that we weren't facing the same problems collectively. Of course, the United Kingdom is bigger than than Ireland, but it matters. That relationship matters. It mattered then, and it matters now. Now that we are out of the European Union, and Ireland are within it. They are one of the ways in which we may stretch out and recover some of the things we so willfully threw away when we left the European Union. I don't believe the European Union is perfect or anything like it. Because I negotiated the Maastricht Treaty, the ultras, the ultra-anti-Brexiteers regard me as a significant Europhile. That's not actually true. I'm a very practical European. There's many things I don't like. But I look at the package and I say, are people in my country better off and safer if we were in the European Union than if we were outside? And I reached the conclusion that we were better off inside. And there is a wider dimension to this. There are 3 great power blocks in the world today. The United Kingdom is not one of them. There's America, there's China, and there's the European Union. Europe is going to face immense economic competition from both America and from China. It may face military and security problems with China. Is Europe better able to represent its people with the United Kingdom inside the European Union, making it stronger, or outside, making it weaker? I think not just us, but the whole of Europe is stronger with Britain in it. And when I look at the interests of my children and my grandchildren, I think their future is brighter if they're part of a really big bloc who could work with us if we were in difficulty. Suppose we had a socking great row with China. If Britain decided to put sanctions on China, China wouldn't be much bothered. If the European Union did, because we were being maltreated, they would feel quite differently about it. And it is those strategic issues that make me believe that we should be in Europe and that we have made a colossal mistake in leaving. I understand the sovereignty arguments, though many of them are more semantic than real, to be frank. No country, not even the United States, has pure sovereignty. That is why who has pure sovereignty in NATO, for example? We all sign up to NATO. Nobody complains about that. And yet we would give up a degree of military sovereignty in NATO, just as we give up a degree of economic sovereignty and political sovereignty in the European Union. It's a question of balancing what we give and what we may gain. And what we give is often frustrating and boring. And all the silly stories we had, completely untrue, about square bananas or straight bananas or whatever it was, the nonsense that was printed, and other bigger things, are irrelevant compared to the economic improvement of being in Europe. I wonder how many of the cuts we've had, or the shortage of resources for our public services, would not have happened but for the loss of GDP because we have left the European Union. I just wonder how much that is. And I would dearly love an accurate assessment. The OBR reckon it's heading towards 4%. That's an awful lot of money in terms of putting right the things wrong in the UK. And then looking forward, the security in a pretty difficult, in a challenging economic world and a potentially difficult political world, how much safer we are in a large bloc than alone, and how much more secure we would be in times of difficulty with friends we can hug closely, rather than people who may be less willing to come to the aid in difficulties of a country that entirely stands alone. Those are matters that are important for this generation and future generations. And I don't think they were given the weight they deserved in the referendum.
Thank you, Sir John. Those are...
You know, I didn't ever have to say anything. I just found what I had to say incredibly fascinating. Not in the boring sense, like his character in Spitting Image. Because he's probably forgotten more in politics than what our glorious leader, Shifty Sunak, and Sir Keir Starmer of 11 or in 7 years of politics, because I remember listening to a fascinating conversation on the James O'Brien show. I might have mentioned this before, where a guy talks about, I find it increasingly alarming that how short lifespan politicians have in politics before they get ministerial positions. I think he talks about Maggie Thatcher being an MP for 20 years before she became either got a ministerial position or became Prime Minister. Whereas you look at these two, Leader of the Opposition and Rishi Sunak, 7 years. And I found what he had to say truly fascinating. It just shows you what a situation we're in now when I'm nodding my head against somebody who I won't agree with politically whatsoever.